I have one more dinner recipe for you, and we've saved maybe not the best, but certainly my favorite for last. This is my recipe for an ultimate rice bowl, and it's one of my favorite recipes to cook for myself at home when I need a quick, flavorful, really nourishing meal. It's also my favorite thing to serve to my athletes, whether they're hardcore mountain bikers or surfers. The components here are really easy, and they form a blueprint that can be replicated with whatever you've got on hand. The base for this meal is sushi rice, but you could also use basmati rice or pasta or quinoa or any other sort of grain that you have on hand. Then we add a crunchy slaw, which we'll make here. So we've got two different types of protein. I've got some grilled chicken as well as some 6-minute eggs, or in this case, because we're at altitude, we made 8-minute eggs. I've also got some chopped up greens, arugula, spinach, and some Asian greens as well. Whatever you have on hand is going to work great. And then we've got some sliced radishes, some avocado, some little cabbage sprouts, and then some cilantro and green onion blooms that we'll add to finish, and a sour pickle. I love this bowl so much because, as we've talked about previously in this course, the 6 flavors are really, really important for our bodies. They help our digestive systems to turn on and create enzymes that help us to digest and basically absorb all of the benefits from our food. So the more we can incorporate all 6 tastes into our meals, the more nourishing that meal will be. Each of the ingredients here on the table represents all 6 flavors, but as it turns out, all of the pantry ingredients and liquids that I recommend you keep represent all 6 flavors as well. So we've got some salty Bragg's liquid aminos, a sour rice vinegar, we've got some sweet maple syrup, a pungent sriracha sauce, a salty bit of salt, and then a little bit of astringent olive oil. So there we have it. Let's go ahead and start our bowl. There are several different ways to prepare your rice or your grains. In this case, while we were playing today, I went ahead and made some rice in my rice cooker. It took about 40 minutes and it cooked on its own after I rinsed the rice, strained it, and then measured out the water. In the written recipe, I share with you how to cook rice on your stovetop as well if you don't have a rice cooker in your RV or at home. With respect to proteins, as I mentioned, you can swap out anything that you love. One of the components that I've added in this case are some soft-boiled eggs. To make a soft-boiled egg, the first thing that you need to understand is what altitude you're at, because that will change the speed with which your eggs cook. And then all you're going to do is drop the eggs into boiling water, cook them until the centers are quite runny, and in our case that was 8 minutes. But if you live at sea level, it might be only 6 minutes. When the eggs have sat in their hot water bath or in their little hot tub long enough, you're going to drop them into an ice bath. Let them hang out there until they're cool enough to touch. And one of the beautiful parts about my RV is that I have a little ice tray inside of the freezer, so I'm able to do this on the road. And then I like to run them under a little bit of cold water to help the shells release. I crack them all the way around and then peel the shells off. The fresher the eggs, the harder it will be to get the shells off. And as you may be able to see, some of the whites of my eggs came off. Don't worry, they still taste delicious. And the centers are nice and runny, and we'll see that when we slice them open. Okay, so before we assemble our rice bowl, we're going to make a quick slaw. This is a super versatile component that you could add to, by the way, the rice noodle bowl that we ate earlier today. You can eat it with your tacos. You can batch it up and store it in a reusable container or even a plastic bag, and use it over and over and over on your adventure, however long it may be. So long as all of the slaw is consumed within about 3 days, you're good to go. If I was at home, I might be using a bowl, but I don't have a really big mixing bowl here in the RV, so I'm using a platter that's got some high sides, and it's gonna work just great. So let's make our slaw. Here on this little platter, I've got some chopped red cabbage and also some carrots that I chopped up for our rice noodle bowl earlier. I just made a little bit of extra and stored them in the fridge and then pulled them out for this meal. I've got 1 whole lime, and I'm going to use the juice to create my slaw here. Lime side. I'm just going to squeeze the juice over the top of these 2 ingredients. If you don't have fresh limes in your RV refrigerator, you can absolutely use rice vinegar or any other type of vinegar. You just want a little bit of acid to start breaking down the 2 components and meld their flavors together. I'm going to add a big fat pinch of salt, a little bit of pepper, and then I'm going to add a little pinch of this cilantro that's hanging out here. I can use this as a garnish as well, but in this case, I'm going to add it to my slaw. And I'm just going to mix this with my hands. You can use tongs if you have tongs in your RV. I'm squeezing and scrunching this a little bit because I'm starting to kind of like allow the slaw to release some of the flavors, release a little bit of moisture. This will actually create basically a sauce right here on the platter. Okay, so I've got my slaw, and now I'm gonna sort of push it off to the side and start to serve my rice bowls. To serve up my rice bowls, I'm gonna transfer a little bit of rice into each bowl, and then we're basically gonna just top the bowl with all the ingredients that we have in the fridge. It smells so good. I love the smell of rice cooking. It's gotta be one of my favorite things on the planet. Maybe one more little bit. We had a long day, it's dinner time, right? So you can see here that I'm using sushi rice, which is a short grain, like kind of sticky rice. I love using sushi rice in this recipe because it absorbs all the flavors of the sauce really nicely. Probably the biggest secret when cooking rice is to make sure that you measure the water properly. And many recipes will give you a specific measurement for how much water to put in the bowl or into the rice cooker or into the pot. But the way that I do this is actually a little bit funky, and a very dear friend taught me how, and I trust him implicitly. I basically fill my pot, or in this case, my rice cooker bowl, with the rice, so that if I press my palm flat on the top of the rice, the water rises to about my wrist. You can also do this with just putting your finger into the pot so that the tip of your finger touches the rice. You want to fill water to the first knuckle and you're good. And it works every time, I promise. With this particular rice cooker, my rice cooker has several different options. So I can choose what type of rice I have inside the cooker, and then I just select that function. Your rice cooker might be a little bit different, but ultimately rice cookers are really cool because the mechanism inside measures how much moisture is still inside the bowl, and you'll get perfect rice every time, which is wonderful whether you're at home or you're traveling. This is one of my favorite little tools that lives in the RV. So let's go ahead and make our sauce. So the first ingredient I'm gonna add is my Bragg's. And I'm not really measuring how much of each of these ingredients goes in. I sort of just count in my head like 1/1000, 2/1000 for each of them, about equal parts of each ingredient. So we're gonna do that here. 1/1000, 2/1000, 1/1000, 2/1000. Same with rice vinegar. 1/1000, 2/1000, 1/1000, 2/1000. We'll hook it up with the maple. And maple syrup seems like a strange thing to add here, but the sweetness is really important for balancing this bowl. We have a lot of acidic and astringent things going on here, and the maple is just a really lovely thing to add to make the flavors round. Okay, so I've got those couple. I'm also gonna add a little bit of olive oil at this point, just for a little bit of fat, a little bit of astringency. This is just gonna be one glug. It's not gonna be a 2000s glug. Now I'm gonna add a little hit of our greens, some to each bowl. Now that the flavors have had a chance to meld, I just want to make sure before I drop it on the plate that all the flavors are around. Actually, can use a little more salt, especially after a hot day outside. Don't skimp on the salt. Let's get some of these pretty pink little radishes out. And I just happen to have radishes in the refrigerator, but if you don't have them, it's not a big deal. Whatever you're working with will be enough. And even if you have just one or two of these ingredients, your rice bowl will be set. Let's do a little sliced avocado here. Moving down the line, let's add a little bit of chicken to each bowl. Let's drop an egg. Moment of truth, always. You can tell whether or not our yolks are nice and runny. Because we love pickled red onion, we're gonna add this guy too. And some of these pretty little cabbage sprouts, because I would be amiss without garnish. Let's do a few little drops of sriracha here for our pungency. Chive flowers, why not? Last chance to shine. I love a crunchy texture on this, so in this particular case, the radishes are gonna do that for us, but if you had sesame seeds or toasted sunflower seeds or something along those lines, that would be awesome in this bowl as well. The furikake that we put on the rice noodle bowl earlier today would be awesome. There we have it, my recipe for the ultimate rice bowl, the perfect meal to make yourself after a long day, whether you're in your home kitchen or in your RV.